Welcome everyone to today's MVIP Modulator overview. My name is Vogel Grody. I'm the VIP Product Manager here out of New Prague. And basically I'm going to be hopping back and forth between a presentation and actual demonstration of the modulator. So there'll be times when the screen is just refreshing. So there might be a few small delays. This session should take less than an hour. There's 15 slides, so we should, depending upon the number of questions and answers, we should be able to finish in less than an hour. Just so a little bit about the modulator, the background really. What it does is it enables customers, resellers, mechanical contractors, service providers, and major gas suppliers to configure and order VIP, vacuum insulated pipe, and accessories online. So today what I'm going to be doing, I'll give you an overview of the modulator, the software tool. This is basically a continuation of what I talked about last Friday. It's really part 2. So this is going to be focused on the modulator tool and like I said, the ability to order and configure online. Last week's session was really just about the Pro overview. So if you need to review that, that's been recorded. You can go to the HR learning module for that. We'll talk a little bit about our vision for quoting. How we plan to grow our VIP business, talk a little bit about order management, and then I'll actually be switching to the application to do a demonstration of how to register, how to get pricing, do designs, how the pick list works. We'll go through the proposal, and we'll look at the dashboard a little bit, and then talk about next steps. Okay, a little bit about the quoting vision. Most everyone is familiar with chartparts.com and how it works. You basically go to www.chartparts.com. You'll be able to see pictures. There's parts that are grouped in categories of a similar function. It utilizes Of course, it utilizes E1 for order processing, but there's really no configuration involved. It's really a low-touch means to get parts for as low price as possible. The other activity that we have today is really what's over here on the right, which talks about where we are today as far as how we do our quotes. It's the traditional means. It's full service configuration. We typically have a whole project team. We've got designers. We've got inside sales. We've got a scheduler that really helps you define your system, define its lead time, define its price, and of course. It's also leveraged on E1, but it's really more of it's a project system. Whereas, of course, chartparts.com is more of a part-only system. So what we're trying to do is really drive activity from this traditional full-service configuration to more of a self-serve configuration. And the modulator, that's what the modulator is all about. It's basically leveraged off the chartparts.com site, but it's modular subsystems that you basically put together like Legos, so you can configure multiple systems with one platform. So you can kind of see low touch over here with ChartParts, shorter deliveries, versus over here we got higher touch, typically a little more expensive, a little longer to deliver. And then what we're trying to develop really here is this middle column. So quite a bit of information on that. With that, I'll pause here and unmute everybody, see if there's any questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
So, any questions on this screen? If not, I'll continue on here. Put everyone back on mute.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so a little bit about the new modular software. It's really one spot for us to manage our prospects. What we did with this version, there was a previous version of modular software, but we really made some changes with this version. We've got single sign-on, so you don't have to remember your username and password for chart parts and your username and password for the modulator. You know, in this day and age, we got to keep track of a lot of usernames and passwords. So it's just one password. We really leverage the whole chartparts.com infrastructure as far as, you know, how do you manage part numbers, how do you manage quantities, how do you put that bill of material together, and then how you fulfill it. We're also leveraging the infrastructure of chartparts.com points. So if you order your VIP system online, you're able to gain chart points. We are continuing to, we have a maintenance contract with our software suppliers, so our goal is to do software updates every 2 weeks. And this allows us to really manage customer information in one spot. So, you know, we've got all of our people that have registered for chart parts. In the past, we had a whole separate area where we kept track of contact information, but now it's just in one spot, chartparts.com. And then finally, by leveraging Chart Parts website, we're able to pool resources. We have a few dedicated resources with Chart Parts, and you know, it's nice. You know, budgets are always slim, so it's nice to be able to share those resources. Okay, here's a little bit more about what's changed from Modulator version 1 to Modulator version 2. We now have the ability to go out and get lead times. We are able to query MRP data anytime, anywhere. We can also go and get pricing. So if we need to change prices, it's pretty much overnight. So that gives us more flexibility. In the past, the old modulator was really we required a software engineer if we were going to update pricing or if we were going to change, delete modules or add modules. It was pretty labor intensive, and as a result of that, it really got it didn't get updated. We've improved the usability, much more intuitive. I think everyone's expectation with modern software is that it's easy to use, it's intuitive. So this version is more so than the last. I already mentioned the product data. We have a new feature that's called the review button, and what the review button does is it lets if you're having questions, you run into a roadblock, you can click that review button and it sends an email to our inside chart team. And finally, we've added a bunch of modules. One of the complaints about the past modulator was really that it wasn't flexible enough. So we've got more flex options in there. We've got an 18-foot straight module, which is really needed for international shipment. We've got a mail-by-mail elbow. We did this a long elbow, which is really a combination of an elbow and a straight, so you can cut down on your sections with that. We added a mail-by-mail T, and then we have the 1.5-inch diameters in there. And finally, we have added Y valves for vertical installations. So a little bit, what we're doing here is really mirroring our traditional VIP MVE product. So it's compatible. In the VIP custom world, we had half, we had 1 inch, we had 1.5 inch, and 2 inch, and now with the modular world, we have the same. So we're able to really leverage, 30-some years of products that we've developed. So really this new modular platform, we're sunsetting MVIP Legacy, which is the bad news. There'll be some transition pains with that. But the good news is that it's all compatible now. The modular system is compatible with our traditional custom VIP system. A little bit about terminology here. You'll see this MB. You'll also see FB. MB stands for male bayonet, and FB stands for female bayonet. So with that, I'll pause here for any questions again.
The conference has been unmuted.
So anyone, any questions about the old modulator versus the new modulator? Probably not. A lot of people use the old one, I think. All right, I'll keep going.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so a little bit about the new product offering. We really have 3 products now. We've got Pro, we've got Python, and Select. And I went over that more extensively in Friday's webinar. So what's in the modulator is really just Pro and Python. We don't have the ability to do Select at this point. That's really would require manual intervention with inside sales or with our design team. You could still design up a product, maybe 80-90%. You can submit it for review, and we'll certainly look at it. But we don't have Select in there now. We are kicking around some ideas for how to add it. I see it being added in like a couple of months. But for the time being, what we would have to have you do is click the Mark for Review button and then have our inside team look at it. Okay, a little bit about how to register. So here's where I'm going to be switching. After I go through this slide, I'll be switching into a live demo. But what you do is you go to the chartindustries.com. You then can go to the chartparts.com site. You sign in with a username and password. If you don't have a username and password, you got to fill out this create an account information, which is under the My Account tab. And one of the things that you got to make sure you do is that you click the MVIP Modulator Application checkbox. That basically spawns an email to the administrator, who will approve you, make sure you're not the competition, and then you'll get access. So let me just demo that quickly for you. Okay, so here's the home page. Scroll down to the bottom, you can see Chart Parts page. Okay, I'm actually signed in already to this page. You can see, we're promoting the modulator on the chartparts.com homepage. I can click on that. It gives me a little bit of an overview of the modulator, what it can do for you. Then you click at the Sign Up Now button. There's some terms and conditions. Then takes you, basically what that did is sent an email to me. If you click on the, since I'm signed in already, it's showing me here. But if I sign out, then I go to my account. You hit the Create Account button, and this is the information that you would have to fill out. making sure that you check this MVIP Modulator application button to get access for that. Okay, so I'll go back to the presentation and see if there's any questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
Okay, any questions about filling out that the registration?
Hey, Vogel, this is Albert.
Yep, go ahead.
With the modulator now, if there is anything, if there's a spool not in the modulator realm that is needed, does the modulator program still work then?
Yeah, it still works. Let's say you need a custom length. Maybe you need a 12-foot straight, and so you could potentially pick a 10-foot length, and continue on. What you would do is submit your drawing for review, and then you'd put a comment in there saying, hey, I was able to do my design, everything except for this one 12-foot length straight that I need. So then that would come to our inside chart team, and if you really you had to have that one custom piece, of course we would design that for you and complete the design. So that's kind of how right now we're dealing with anything custom is we just have to manually intervene in the process.
But using the system, will you have to round everything to an even foot then?
You do. We only have right now the modules that we have in there. For example, the straight modules. I'm just going to my catalog here. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 18, 20, and 30-foot lengths in the modulator. So you could, of course, I'd probably picked a bad number because you could just take a 10-foot and a 2-foot to make your 12-foot. But if you needed 13 feet, then that would have to be select or cut. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, we're looking at the ability to add that custom configuration capability, but it's not in there yet. All right, well, I'm going to go back on mute here.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so the next screen is really about how to set up your pricing. And here again, you go to your My Accounts tab, once you're registered, and you can either pick between a list, a discount, or both. And how this is set up, sometimes maybe the opportunity is just starting out, and you want to just strictly talk about list in front of the customer. They're just trying to get a rough order of magnitude. Maybe later on you're into the negotiation, and the customer wants to, there's the competition involved, so we want to apply a discount. So then you could go to, switch it from list to discount. And then you could see that and do your negotiation with the customer. The way we have this set up is as customers come in and register, we recognize them as far as what segment they're in. Are they a major? Are they a distributor? Are they just a loyal customer? Or are they an end user? End users are just given list price. If you're a repeat end user and you're showing some activity, we'll start to crank up the discount. But the majors and the distributors typically get the highest discount, whereas resellers and repeat end users get a lower discount. So let me just open. Well, here I'll go out and demo that quick, and then we'll open it up for questions. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to have to sign back in here. Go to my account, and then here's that basically that toggle switch where you can either look at both list or discount. So for now, I'm just going to keep it as list. I'll hit OK, and then it'll know that when I'm into the modulator. Okay, I'll unmute all, and
The conference has been unmuted.
if there's any questions about this, about how we set up our discounts, about how you switch your pricing, now is the time to ask.
Hey, Vogel, this is Song. If I'm a small business owner, what's my incentive to use this instead of just calling your team and have you do all the work?
Well, there's a geographic component. So if you're in South Africa or Asia, I mean, there's one incentive, and just that you can, while Chart New Prague is asleep, and San Jose for that matter, you can be configuring, you can be doing what-if scenarios. You can try to move your design forward, and then when we come in the morning, we can make that much more progress on your design. But yeah, I mean, obviously we're encouraging usage. As people become more familiar and they do more business with us, we'll give them more and more of a discount. We do ask, as you do more, we ask that you become a partner with us and have potentially your own website. We would ask that you do your own measurements. There's a lot of things that we ask in order for you to get a bigger and bigger discount. We want you to do more in your geography. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question in here from San Jose via chat, which is, what if you're an existing Chart Parts user? How do you update your profile to get access to the modulator? So what you would do is you'd go into that My Accounts tab, and you'd have to check the box, that MVIP access box, and that would send me an email, so I would know that you're interested in the modulator, and and then I would set your access up. Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll keep going here.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, this next screen is really about what's the difference between a project and a design. So I'll be giving you a demo of that in a minute. But there's a couple subtleties to this screen. How to add projects. There's this little button over here, the plus sign, that not everybody, it's not completely intuitive, but that's how I add my projects. Actually, that's my add projects is over here on the left. This is over here on the right is how I add designs. But I can export my projects to Excel, to PDF, and to Word. Everything down below here is really, these are the designs that I'm working on. And a good example would be like a hospital, where maybe I have a project to do VIP for a hospital. And then down here, maybe I have a design for the first floor, a design for the second floor, and so on. A little bit here too about the status. Your design goes through different statuses. Initially, it's in an open status. Once you submit your quote, it turns into a quote submitted status. Then when our team reviews it, it would be in a reviewed status. I've got Move to cart is crossed out right now because we don't have that functionality in there. Eventually, the vision is that you would potentially be able to, create your bill of material and your quantities, and you would just be able to order it right online, how you would do, other chart parts. But right now we don't have that functionality in there. We still need to do that via our inside chart team. And the final two are quote discarded and then also design marked for review. So I'll go through these with you. I've go out and give you a demonstration of that right now. Okay, so this is the design that I was working on. I'm going to go to the modulator. It's reminding me that I got to save it. Okay, so go to the modulator. This is my project right now. It's I'm calling myself Hospitals Are Us. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to create a new design by using the plus sign here. Okay, we'll make out the floor. Make this out. We'll call it Hospital Project, maybe 5th floor or 6th floor. It's in the open status. I've got a little flag here on probability of order, just to help us keep track of what is progressing, what's imminent. Then we've got the system purchase date, expected system purchase date, expected approval date. I can upload some files. This is new to the modulator as well. So if I've got a customer sketch, I can go out, fetch that. So you can see it uploaded it. I can upload pictures. If I'm on site taking pictures, I can put all that in here. Any PDF, any TIFF file, it'll let me upload. Okay, so the next screen it will take me to is really the application details. And this is all about just pulling information. You can see over here on my right, hopefully that's displayed. It sent an email that a new design creation was created, Hospital Project 6th floor. So that goes right to our inside chart team. We ask that you fill out this information. Just, if there are questions about it, it really saves a lot of time. One of the most common questions is, where are you starting? Is it an apps unit? Is it an existing VIP? Is it Python? In this case, we're starting with the MVIP or MPT connection. We also ask, what kind of application is it? In this case, it's going to be liquid oxygen. So that helps us understand the application. This system sizing is really about whether you need a cryo vent or not. So how many hours per day are you needing liquid service? There's a little help text here that says, if you need liquid service in 10 seconds or less, you're going to need a cryo vent. So that helps our team to know whether a cryo vent should be in there. We want, you can configure in either metric or English. A little bit here about what kind of service, whether it's normal service or high service. The pressure really dictates a lot. Depending upon the pressure, you may have to actually switch designs. And then we want to know how many, what's your expected flow rate. That dictates or answers a lot of questions for us. And we have a checkbox here that says if you're, that you don't want to be trapping liquid, that you understand that a relief valve will be required anywhere. There's potentially, there's 2 valves that could be turned off. Okay, so that gets saved. We got a little spot here to load any, if there's any unique specifications, you can write them in here. We've got a bunch of questions that we like to ask. These are situations where extra charges may apply. One of them is, if there's Canadian registration required. O2 clean is an adder. Authorized inspection is an adder. Cold shock is an adder. Material traceability, X-ray, pressure test. All these could potentially add cost to your design, and they're not included in the standard pricing. So we'll want to know about that if any of these are required. There's some considerations for shipment, whether it's an international shipment or a domestic shipment. International shipments can only be so long, especially if it's air freight. Special documentation required. Sometimes for shipment, there's unique document that's required, like some shipping instructions, and those, of course, could be uploaded in that file upload on the design detail screen. Okay, so nothing really required here. I guess I will spec the O2 clean and then go on. I should say that there's really no business rules behind this. Again, this is all we're just trying to glean information to understand the requirements of the design. If installation is required, our service team will have a bunch of questions. You can just click none if not, but if installation is required, we want to know if it's new or existing construction. We want to know if it's vacuum jacketed pipe, non-vacuum jacketed pipe, or if it's new installation. We have some questions here that we like to ask. So if we are going to be installing this, we want to know the pad width and the pad depth. We want to know the pad surface. We want to know how far, the C dimension, we want to know how far it is from the building. We want to know the height, how far up do we have to go to penetrate the wall. And we want to know the wall type, is it concrete, is it wood, is it drywall. We want to know the thickness of the wall. We want to know the thickness of the ceiling. We want to know the thickness of the ceiling type, is it steel, is it concrete. All these things, these questions are meant to help us give you a good quote for installation in a timely manner. So we basically ask that, if you want us to do the install, fill this information out. We want to know about any obstructions, if you're exhausting inside or outside, is a cryo vent heater involved, and if there's any if you have exhaust piping or not. Okay, so we ask you fill that out. Once this is done, it'll take me to the isometric grid where I can start drawing. But before we do that, I'm going to go back to the presentation and let's see here, talk a little bit more about here we go. Talk a little bit more about the drawing screen. And here first we'll ask questions. I'll open it up for questions on the details.
The conference has been unmuted.
Okay, so like I just reviewed, you can upload these files, and then again we're trying to qualify to the design. We want to know details of the design. We want to know the application, and we want to know the installation. So, any questions on those 4 areas? Okay.
What happens?
Go ahead.
What happens if you want a flex piece, which the modulator offers, but does the modulator know what to do with the flex piece at the tank connection, going say over to the wall, up the wall, and into the wall?
Okay, so the next part of this is the drawing screen, and I'm gonna take you pretty quickly through just how to draw, how to add the modules, how to construct a design. So if you don't mind holding that question for one more slide, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so with that, I'll really get into doing a design fairly quickly here for you. We'll talk about the isometric grid. We'll talk about these header icons, what they do. We'll talk about the left pane, which is really where all your modules are. We'll talk about the right pane, which is the detail information. It also gives you the pricing and the lead time. And then one more note about the drawing screen is it's not scale. We really don't make a distinction. In order to fit everything on a reasonable sized piece of paper, a 10-foot module is the same as a 5-foot module. But I'll show you how to turn dimensioning on so you can distinguish between that. All right, so I guess I didn't unmute here. I'll do that here, and then I'll do the drawing screen.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so here we are in the drawing screen. What I'm going to be doing is constructing this drawing. Put it up on the screen here. Okay, so I'm starting out with MPT connection, and this is really our bulk tank. Some people like to work in the lower left. Some people like to work, from the left going to the right. Some people like to work from the right going left. I usually like to start in the lower left corner. This particular design is 1 inch, and it gives me a little XYZ axis here, so I'm going to be working in the X positive direction. I'm going to just call this the bulk tank, and I'm going to put in my initial pressure, which is 50 psi. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Now you notice once I start, the modulator is smart in that it says, okay, I see you started with an MPT connection. The only options that you can configure are either a flex module or an adapter module. So it's limited my choices based upon how I started. Over here on the right, you can see where this triangle is representative of the bulk tank, and it gives me a few details. That pressure is 50 psi, and I'm calling it a bulk tank. Just to say, I got to pause. All right, I just got some feedback that we're not seeing the slideshow. Okay, so hopefully you're able to see it now. Okay, so I just started out here with a bulk tank, a starting point. It's an MPT connection. What I'm trying to do is draw this customer sketch that was submitted. So the first piece that I'm going to be adding here is a flex module, and it's a 6-foot flex module that goes MPT to male bayonet. I'm going to add that as a straight. Okay. The next module I'm going to add here, you can see in my sketch, is this elbow, item 2. It's an elbow, so I just scroll down to my elbows. It's the shortest elbow that I have, and I didn't bother to orient it, but it's I can flip it using this rotate clockwise icon. For those that don't like XYZ coordinates, you just basically turn it until you get it where you want. Okay. Now I'm going to be going up. I'm going to go up 10 feet with this next module. So that's a straight 10 feet. Okay. Now I got another elbow that I'm putting in. Short elbow, and it's in the X positive direction. Okay. Then I got another elbow that I'm going to do. I'm taking another turn here as I get through the wall. This little can kind of thing, it connotates the wall. Okay, and that's in the positive Y direction. Somehow it knew that. Okay. Now I've got a T that I'm putting in. Item 4 is a T, female, male, male T. So I scroll down to my T selection, female, male, male T, and I want I basically want that to drop down in the negative Z direction. Okay, so it did that. Now this is a little bit about the active point. Right now the active point here is with the run, but I want to switch that to branch to go down because basically I'm putting in item 5 here, which is the MVIP drop. So I need to go to my drops. All right, there's the drop. While I'm here, I'm going to terminate this with the application point. In order to calculate pressure drop, which is this symbol right here, I need to terminate it with a use point. So this is going to be my O2 clean, O2 number 1, and we'll say it's got a flow rate of 1 GPM. Okay, so that really defines that leg of the circuit. Now I'll switch application points, and I'll continue on with my design. The next part is item 6, which is a 10-foot MVIP section. I go straight, 10 foot. Okay, then I got item 7 here is a 5-foot section. Add my 5 foot. Okay, then I've got a T that I'm going to be putting in, and it's a female, male, male T. So I go to my T, female, male, male, and I want the branch to be in the positive X for that. Okay, I'm going to define my second use point here, so I got to switch the active point. I'm going to put a flex in here, flex module. It's going to be a 10-foot flex that terminates in a MPT. I'm going to add that as an elbow. I'll explain this in a minute. So you can add flex as an elbow just to show that you've got to, you've got to turn it down. And it basically lets me enter in the length of each leg of that flex so that my running dimensions are accurate. Okay, then I'm going to define my application point to terminate this. Okay, and this is going to be O2 number 2, and I'll have a 1.5 flow. Okay, so now I've got both of my application points defined. I switch here. I'm going to put a cryo vent in now, a horizontal cryo vent. Okay, so that's really a complete system now. Now notice that the pressure gauge is showing up. So if I click this, it'll calculate my pressure drop. And how do I find that? Well, I got to highlight each application point. Okay, so here's application point number 1, and it's O2 service. I have a pressure drop of 2.62 psi and a flow rate of 1.5 GPM. I come back to this one, click on that, and I give it a pressure drop of 3 psi and a flow rate of 1. Okay, a little bit about the terminology here. This red is really the end of my cryo vent, and what I want to do, and I'll show you how to do this with the pick list, which is next, but I can't configure anything more here because it's kind of, I just wouldn't know what to do for pressure calculations, etc. So I'll have to add the vent line via a pick list. So that's kind of what this red is showing me here. I'll switch on some of the dimensioning just to show you guys that. So if I want to look at my individual pieces and their respective dimensions, I can. I can also switch it to the part number. And kind of the idea here is you could print this design out and potentially do an installation just off of this this sketch. I can click the Calculate Pricing button, which it'll go out to our E1, do a web service, tell me the delivery is going to be 4 to 8 weeks, and our price for this thing as drawn is $29,265. See a little bit more about these icons. I think this is obviously the Save button. I'll click that. If I want to go full screen, I can do full screen. And I can go back. This would essentially clear my design. It's a broom, basically. Allows me to clear my design. We already used the 90-degree function. This allows me to switch connection points. This is an undo symbol if I want to reverse something that I've done. Here's a redo symbol. Here's a cut and paste. I'm sorry, this is copy. So I can grab a couple of sections and copy them. I can cut those sections once I highlight them, and then I can paste them to a new section. The cut and paste, I will say, is a little bit limiting. Let's pretend I've got a whole bunch of drops. It would work if I've got a bunch of drops that are all the same, but it's it's not like I can cut and paste like you would on a Word document or something. The cut and paste is a little bit limiting. Okay, this is my delete. If I want to delete a module, this is my zoom in, my zoom out. We already talked about the pressure drop. Here's I mentioned earlier, if I run into problems, I can click the mark for review, and that'll come right into our VIP design team. If I need a survey, I can click this, and it'll send an email into our team as well. And then here's a hide dimensions. I can just turn that off if I don't want to look at all those dimensions. Okay, so that's really an overview, a quick overview, I'll say, of the design capabilities. Maybe I'll show you one more thing before I leave this. If I highlight this particular module, it'll give me the price for that module, the description for that module. It'll give me the O&D drawing. So if I click that O&D drawing, I can, let's say I have to penetrate a wall or something. I need to know some real details for exactly how high this module is, what the diameters are, what the lengths are. It'll get me that information. Okay, so that's about all I have right now for the drawing. I'll switch it back to the presentation and see if you guys have any questions. So, unmute.
The conference has been unmuted.
Okay, sorry about that. It sounds like a little, when I was starting out there, the drawing wasn't visible, but I hope once I properly shared my screen that you guys were able to see that. Let me know if you weren't for some reason. But any questions on the design isometric grid screen?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay.
This is Al Hart again. At the beginning, when you got the 90 going up the wall,
yeah.
Does the modulator know to put the mail coming down?
It doesn't. It allows you to do that. We recognize that a best practice is really to have your bayonet, your mail bayonet pointing down. We've done tests. We know that it works if it's not oriented correctly. And we do. There is a mail bayonet that we've introduced that allows you to change that orientation if you need to. But the modulator does not check for that particular thing, Alan, for bayonet orientation.
Okay, another question too. On the second drop, there was no gap. That's a non-VJ connection, right?
Nope, that was all VJ.
Oh, that's a VJ at the end?
Yep. Okay, so let me just make sure I understand. Are you talking about, I'm not sure if you can see my screen, but are you talking about this, Alan? What's in yellow, or are you talking about?
No, the drop itself, right there.
Green?
Yep.
That's all VJ. VJ
Okay.
Flex.
Okay, now if you have a non-VJ connection there, does the modulator know to put a gas trap?
It wouldn't check for that. That would be something that you'd have to, like on this first drop that we did, right here, we put in a gas trap, but in the second one we didn't. So it would let you do that. That may be something that our design team would potentially warn you about if you really need a gas trap there or not. But yeah, it didn't stop me.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? All right, I'll go to the pick list next. And I'm going to unmute all.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so here's a little bit about the pick list. The pick list is meant to really, allow you to add VIP accessories. It also allows you to add Python, and you can adjust quantities with it. So it gives you a little more flexibility. Again, from our surveys and whatnot, one of the resounding feedback that we had was we need more flexibility. So it's kind of user beware. I'll demonstrate the pick list here. Okay, we'll go on to pick list. All right, so I explained in the drawing that I couldn't add this last segment, the vent line. I couldn't add that using the modulator. So I'm going to add this vent line using the pick list. Okay, so what I want to do, I'm going to add MVIP Pro, and it's going to be Flex. And I know that by memory, I know that particular line is half-inch Flex. And I'm going to add, it's an MPT. I want to go female to MPT, and I'll just pick this 8-footer here. Okay, so you can see that it added that item. It doesn't have a price yet. It says get price, so I get price by hitting the calculate price button. So it came back, that particular item is $21.52. And then a little bit about recommended quantity. Recommended quantity is really what the drawing configured for you. So that's the quantity that we're basically recommending. The quantity itself here, since I manually added this pick list, this is really just a pick list quantity. This 2 by 8 foot flex line. Okay, so let me let's see. Maybe I'll just demonstrate quickly all the accessories if I wanted to add accessories. That's another pretty common thing if I got brass parts that I want to add, or if I got an apps unit or a transfer hose. I can add those kind of as needed here using the pick list functionality. So you can see we got quite a bit of stuff in there. Okay, with that, I'll go back to the presentation and open it up for questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
So any questions about the pick list functionality?
On the pick list, your vent lines, are those just like regular, almost like a transfer hose kind of?
Well, what I actually picked there was a VJ vent line, because it has a male bayonet on it. You don't have to, go with VJ vent line, but that's just what I picked for this particular one.
Are they Teflon lined?
No, they're not.
Okay, because the Teflon liner we found that it quiets that down quite a bit.
Quiets it down. Yeah, at this point, I mean, we could build a Teflon liner, but it wouldn't be standard. It would be that would be a select or a custom module. Okay, if there's no more questions, I'll go back to mute.
The conference has been muted.
Okay, so the next slide is about generating the proposal. So I've constructed my drawing, I added my accessories with the pick list. Now I'm going to generate a proposal. So I'll demonstrate that for you. Okay, so I click the next button after I've got my parts list right. This takes a little bit of time. Can add some comments if I want, otherwise generate proposal. And essentially what it does is it freezes it at this point. So, you know, if you do, really we have to kind of lock things down from a price standpoint. Because at this point you can download that proposal and submit it to us, and you know, it's all per our terms and conditions. But we really want to make sure that we have some safeguards from a pricing standpoint. This sometimes takes a little time. There it is. Okay, so here's my proposal. Got a little cover letter. Got a sketch of our design. I've got itemization of the quote. Total price, and then we've got a spot here where you can sign it if you accept it, and then all of our terms and conditions. Okay, I'll go back here. I got one more slide, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. Okay, so what's next? This is really the last slide of the presentation. We're going to continue to enhance the modular software. We're refining some of our user roles. We're going to refine our proposal generation. I talked a little bit about the ability to add customization. Our colleagues in Europe want us to Europeanize it. That basically means, like, instead of 10 feet, they want things like 10 meters or 5 meters. We are testing it with on the iPad. A lot of people like to use iPads these days, so that's all in the works. We got to continue to drive adoption. We hope to do that by saving on lead time and with competitive prices. We want to enable our people around the world to do what-if scenarios to figure out which configuration is really the best for them. So they can, this will allow them to do that without New Prague support or San Jose support. And we want to continue to reduce our costs and our lead times. We want to focus, and then finally we want to focus on growing that international business. Okay, with that, my last slide here really contains my contact information. If you got any questions, you can either email me or call my LAN or cell line, and I'll unmute you for any final questions.
The conference has been unmuted.
All right, I went through some of that pretty quick, but I hope you guys were able to pick up a few tidbits anyway on the new modulator. If there's no questions, we'll wrap up this session. And again, it's been recorded, so you can go back and look at it for reference at any time. All right. With that, I'm going to wrap the meeting up. Thanks for attending today, and feel free to reach out if you have future questions.
Thanks, Vogel.
Yep.
Thanks, Bubba.
Thank you. Please stand by. Thank you. Please stand by. Thank you. Please stand by. Thank you. Please stand